We'd hear them coming down the gravel road, down the ranch, and we'd jump on the running boards and try to talk to him.
And that, to you viewers watching this, it's kind of what we want to talk about and give to as content videos to you guys. Is these are amazing rides and totally restored nowadays, but there's always a story behind it. And like your story, how awesome. You've seen the truck since childhood all the way to now being able to restore it, which we'll get into that later. But so many of our vehicles nowadays, there's some sort of cool story behind it, and that's what's so special about this and so many rides. So
yeah.
Hi guys, Logan here, owner, founder of Cruiserz. I'm here today with Tony, and he's going to tell us about his truck. He has had in the family for many years with an awesome story behind it. That's what I'm really excited about. But then the build is tremendous. So Tony, I'm going to turn it over to you, let you introduce yourself and start telling us about your awesome 1950 Chevy pickup.
Yes, thanks Logan, I appreciate it. It's great to be here with you and just be able to share the history of this truck. 1950 truck, and was delivered brand new to our family ranch in Bozeman.
Really?
And my great uncle Alex, it was in his name, and then he farmed and ranched with 3 brothers, so 4 of them total. And tell you about those brothers. One name was Toad, and that's an ancient name, but his name is Anthony.
Okay.
There's quite a few Anthonys in our family. And then Gus, or Augustus, that was the other brother. And then my grandpa Gaffke, Grandpa William. So those 4 brothers farmed and ranched in the Gallatin Valley, and they came from Minnesota way back in the 1900s.
Okay.
And huge family, and they had a couple of farms, a couple of ranches out there. They ended up consolidating several ranches and settled in the middle of the Gallatin Valley out on Love Lane in Baxter, and our ranch is still out there to this day.
That's awesome.
So this truck was delivered in 1950, brand new. It was a long box. We'll tell you a little bit later, but we shortened it down to a 3100 series. But it was delivered brand new and a custom order, because from my understanding, and the story goes, is that being a long box, you didn't just go down to the dealer. Now, I don't know what the dealer would have been. I wish I could be there. I love the 50s and everything. But it was delivered on the railroad because it was a custom order. And it had these racks that were painted green to match.
Okay.
As big, just solid boards, racks all the way around it. So it hauled cattle, oddly enough, a few cattle and
This was once a cattle truck. Can you believe that?
And then a lot of grain, but it was just the work truck.
Yeah.
So my great uncle's farm and ranched out of this truck.
That's amazing.
And then my dad came along. He's the he's the oldest of 7.
Okay.
So the brothers, the sisters, the hired hands, and we had hired hands, well before I was around, but they drove
your kids were the hired hands, right?
What's that?
Before your kids were the hired hands.
Yeah, exactly, because we worked at that ranch a lot as kids. Yeah. But my dad was the oldest of 7, so he learned to sit and drive in this truck, in the front seat of this truck, and learn how to drive, and then countless other people drove this truck. When I came along, I'm the youngest of 4, my brother Mike, and my sister Kathy, and my sister Val, and then I'm the youngest. I learned to drive in the front seat of this truck on my dad's lap, and the steering wheel was much different. It was this huge, it looked like it was, as a kid, it seemed like it was this huge steering wheel.
Going down the road.
And so I learned to drive in this truck sitting on my dad's lap. But the point, one of the bigger points, this truck, we call it Gus Truck, was that my great uncle Gus drove it the most when I was a kid.
And that's how it got its name.
Yeah, Gus Truck. So we, goodness, this was our playground. My brother and sisters and I, we played on this thing, and Gus would come to town and then go to town, then come back, and we'd hear him coming down the gravel road, down the ranch, and we'd jump on the running boards and try to talk to him. And he's usually smoking a Winston and had a bottle of something in the glove box.
That's awesome.
So,
and that, to you viewers watching this, it's kind of what we want to talk about and give to as content videos to you guys. Is these are amazing rides and totally restored nowadays, but there's always a story behind it. And like your story, how awesome. You've seen the truck since childhood all the way to now being able to restore it, which we'll get into that later. But so many of our vehicles nowadays, there's some sort of cool story behind it, and that's what's so special about this and so many rides. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, it's really special. It's really an honor for me to drive this truck. I drive it every day in Billings, Montana, every day that it's nice, you know, that is. And it's part of my real estate business, that type of thing. But I'm really amazed that I get to drive this truck that I grew up in. My dad, his family members, my great uncles farm and ranched out of this truck. I'm really amazed to have this thing, and the legacy of this truck is really an incredible thing. So fun story, Gus, again, he was the gambler. He winked at you all the time.
Sounds like he was the fun uncle you want to hang out with.
He was the fun uncle, yeah. Toad, he was the conservative one, saved money, all the things. Gus was the gambler.
Okay.
And he had a lot of treasures that he'd won over the years. But I remember one time, we would live there in the summer times, my brother and sisters and I with my mom and dad, and we had a house in town, but in the summertime, my family hauled us all out to the ranch, and we ran 360 acres in the middle of the Gallatin Valley for 3 months at a time. We just ran like wild, like feral kids almost. But when it was harvest time, Toad would be on the combine, a big old John Deere combine, and Gus would be in this truck. And again, it was a long box and it had racks on it. Small farm operation. They also had a Dodge 1-ton dually that they hauled grain with. But Gus hauled the grain in this truck mainly.
Wow.
And so he would come down the gravel road of the ranch, and we would be riding our bikes around, and we'd run into the old farmhouse, and we'd ask my mom, hey, can we go to town with Gus? And so Gus would go up in the field, and we would ride our bikes up there. And this cab is pretty small cab, but the 4 of us kids would fit in the middle of that, in that cab.
That's amazing.
My brother was always on the outside. But we would go up in that field, and I remember distinctly, the hopper was full of grain, and Toad would keep going in tandem. And if you're a farm and ranch kid like we are, you know, it's kind of fun. But Gus wouldn't look straight ahead. He would look at a point on across at the stairway leading up to the combine, and he had a marker point right there, and he knew how far in or out he could be or how far forward. And Toad would start unloading the grain. So I always sat and I watched Gus. I sat right next to him. I would watch Gus's eyes, and I'd learned so much from these ancient men about life. And it was really incredible. So he would load up the grain, and then he would peel off. And, you know, if you've ever been in a grain field, the stubble's high. It's really stickery. And so we would Gus was really polite. So he would take us to the edge of the field where the high grass was, and we'd pile out. And our challenge would be to go down the side like this and then jump in the back without falling in the grass. It was just our fun, you know. And
now, you young kids watching this, we don't recommend that. This is back in the day where we got away with a lot.
We were unsupervised 70s and 80s kids, you know. That's how we did it.
That's awesome.
But we'd jump in the back, and the whole way to town, my brother, 2 sisters, and I, and have a distinct memory, sitting in the back of in this truck. And the grain is up to here, and we'd burrow down in the grain. And we make grain gum. Like you chew it and chew it and chew it. It's the grossest stuff. And we would see how big a wad of grain gum we could get, and go to town. And Gus, he would buy us a pop. One pop. All 4 of us would get to split that, and he buys all a little candy. And we loved to go to town with Gus. They would take this truck, and in the grain elevator had a big open area, and they would tilt it up, they would pull the back grain chute, and they tilted the whole truck, and we'd watch through the windows. Well, there's times when we went to town with Toad. Toad never bought us candy. Who did we like to go to town with? We like to go to town with Gus.
And that's why it's named.
There's some fun memories with that.
That is awesome. I love it. You can't beat that. That's so original. It's history. And, you know, fast forward a little bit later, I know you can tell us how I believe it was sold out of the family and you got it back.
It technically wasn't sold. So when I was later in life, when I was about 14, distinctly remember my dad said, this will be your truck someday.
Oh, wow.
And as a kid, you take those promises to heart, you know. And so we would get it running in the summers. This is after Toad and Gus had retired. My grandpa had died quite a number of years. I don't remember my grandpa, but they retired or did their best to retire.
Yeah.
And so we would get it running. We'd fill the battery with water and the radiator, check the belts, and we'd get it driving. And I was a little older and I could shift it. It was a 3-speed with a granny gear, you know. So I was really trying to reach the steering.
Yeah.
And so he promised this truck to me, and I took that to heart. So in junior high, high school, I had a 50 Chevy truck, and you know, it was the days of printing T-shirts. So we had an auction when I was 19 and graduated high school, and I was coming out to the ranch, and this truck was being hauled off by the Marks family.
Oh.
And I said to my dad, "What's the deal? That's my truck." He said, "You'll never do that truck. You'll never do it up like you say you will." And so my great uncle Toad and Grandpa Marks had made a deal. We don't know what the deal was to this day. There's no money exchange that we know of. That truck sat at the Marks farm just about 2 miles north of the Gaffke ranch for probably 30 years.
Wow.
So old man Marks, as we called him, or I called him, gave it to the son, who gave it to the grandson. So Jeff Marks, and we keep in touch to this day, he had it, and he started tearing it down. I keep this Patina over here because that's part of the history of this thing. He tore it down, took the radiator out, took the running boards off, didn't do a lot with it, and fast forward, I'm disappointed for a long time that somebody else had my truck, and we got in contact with him later. It was really providential. My brother got in contact with Jeff Marks, and they were going to push it out to the Valley Center in the middle of Bozeman, Valley Center Lane, that road out there, and they're going to sell it. And I'd been literally praying for years about this truck, and just thought, I want to get it restored, make it a hot rod, all those things. Got to where I got to talk to Jeff Marks, and I told him the story. And I said, now, I'm not...
He probably didn't know that back history. He just probably know the family got it at one point. No,
he didn't know that. And of course, he's the grandson, and he's older, and I don't know if he was in his 30s. So I told him the story, and there's countless stories. I mean, more than I could even write a book about, I think, in my viewpoint. Told him the story about growing up in this truck and my dad giving it to me and the legacy of our family. And it's pretty incredible what this truck means to me personally. So I told him that, and I said, now, I'm not asking any special favors, but I want you to know, that's my truck. Plus, you may not know this, Jeff, we have the title. The title was never changed over. We have the title in the family safe. My brother has it. You have the truck. I said, no favors, but this is my truck. And he said, you know, I would never be one to take that away. I said, I love the story. Again, the story. So I bought it from him for $500, and that was about 11, 12 years ago, and it sat here in Billings for a number of years. And then we've had it fully restored into a Restomod. So
that is so cool. And now you can enjoy it with your kids, your grandkids, your wife, everything like that. First time I seen this truck, I was driving to work and passed you. I told you this not too long ago. I passed him at a stoplight, and I remember seeing this truck, and me being a car guy I am, obviously I was head turned, glued to the truck. I seen his realty on there right away. I knew he was going to work. It was probably like a Tuesday, Wednesday morning. And I thought, wow, how incredible. This guy gets to drive, and I didn't know the story on it, nothing, but I just drive a vehicle. He loves to work. Such a unique vehicle, everything like that. And me being a younger guy, entrepreneur, getting life started with businesses, that's huge, you know. That's what we work hard for as young people. So I thought that was really cool. So that was the first time I seen this truck. We met at a car show after that, and I heard some of the story, and we got to tell it. So if there's any more you want to share with the family, we can. If not, we can start talking about the build too. So.
No, we met at Mars car show. We're filming in Mars Bay here.
Yes, thank you to Mars of Billings, Devin, and the crew for letting us film here today. And
shout out to Cindy. She let us in part of her Saturday today. But one quick story I think just really is a nod to the memory of sitting in this truck. So there was another time we were coming back from town. And if you've ever been on gravel roads, obviously there's a lot of washboards and all the things. And Gus, he wore an old wore out cowboy hat, and smoked Winstons,
Oh yeah.
and
Windows rolled down.
windows rolled down, and
Yep.
and there was always a flask or a a little bit of juice, he called
Salt
it,
beverage.
in the glove box. But we're driving back from the grain, delivering the grain. It was just my brother and I. And my brother always got shotgun. He's the older. Hi, Mike. Yeah, thanks, Mike. He always called shotgun. And I got the middle. But so we're driving along down Durston Road back to the ranch. And we come up on this hill, and I distinctly remember exactly where it was. We come to the top of this hill, and there's all these washboards.
Yeah.
And this truck, I mean, it took a pounding,
Yeah.
but it took it.
Yeah.
And we're driving along, and he shifts gears after coming up this hill, and the truck's sideways on these washboards, and he looks over at me, and he nudges me, and he winks. He said, "Takes a good driver to hit all the bumps, kid." And that legacy of that statement still rings in my ear, because I thought, I was a little kid, I was probably 8 or 9, I'm like, then he must be a really good driver.
He's so cool. I want to be just like him, right? Yeah.
But that type of man, that ancient man, to me was really cool. Like, we're really enjoying life, you know?
Yeah.
And so those memories, again, we played on this thing, but that was a really fun memory for me to have Gus kind of,
And that's just another aspect to the story. I mean, that's what's so cool is they all can tell a story, and then it's even cooler when we can actually hear the stories. So that's awesome. I'm so happy that you guys were able to get it back in the family, and then you're able to take it to what it is today. And it's still like it was on the farms to so many points, what with a 2025 twist to it. Right?
Yeah, it's all. So I get asked a lot of car shows. Only had it back since May 23 of 2025. So, and we'll get into the build here in a minute. But it's original patina. So I get asked a lot of car shows. Is it original? Who did your patina? And I can't imagine that anybody could replicate this patina. No. So this is original. There's a little bit of upgrade here for my logo and things like that. Nicole Knight, out of Advantage Signs, she did the door art. She's amazing. She's really good.
That's not a sticker. It's not a wrap. It is hand painted on there. That's really cool.
It's with a skip brush. My wife and I designed this whole logo. It's based off another logo from years ago in my real estate, but this is all hand painted, amazing. And so it's really amazing. We wanted to look like the 50s. Yeah. And so all original patina, and of course we can get into the build, who built it, and all the fabricating.
So while we're on that, who did do your build when you were ready to decide? It sounded like you had the truck for about 10 years before you were ready to take it out of build. Right? Okay.
Yeah. Fun fact in that, when you're a kid, I saved $30 and thought, okay, I'm on my way. I'm going to put a 350 engine in it. And later in life, that $30 went to fireworks, or whatever it is. You save and save and save. But we had it for about 10 years, and then met a gentleman named Rick Moore out of Moore's Garage out of Belfry, Montana. So Rick Moore and his family and his crew did the build. So it's a full Restomod. And that was about 2 years ago in September. I'd talked to him in 2016, 2019, COVID happened, and then we get into 2023, 2024. I'm like, I got to get this truck done. I got to do something. And they do an incredible job. I hopefully can tag them in here, but
we will.
The Moore family in Belfry, Montana did this full Restomod. So ground up, full on restoration as far as a Restomod. So I'll jump into the build itself.
Yeah, so what do we have for a frame under it and suspension?
Yep, frame and suspension. So it's an R&R frame. A little history there. Rick and Ricky Moore started R&R Frames, and they sold it to Dylan. Dylan did the frame. So out of R&R Frames here in Billings. And it's a frame that is special for these trucks. They also do frames for the Tri-5s and things like that. But this is I call it a performance frame. I don't know if they'll call it that, but to me it's a performance frame.
Modern day frame.
And it accommodates a C4 suspension. So full on Corvette suspension, Dana rear end. And so they make that frame, and it's just a cradle that they drop those C4 suspension front and rear into. And we'll take a walk around the vehicle as well. So that's the frame and suspension.
if you want to go motor next or
Yeah.
whatever you want to tell us.
Yeah,
You
no,
can
I'll
tell us
just
how you.
I'll kind of build it from
Yeah.
the ground up.
Yeah.
So when you work with the Moore family, you got to buy the frame, the engine, tranny, put a big deposit down, then they order the tires and wheels and all the running gear and everything. So it's got Budnick wheels, Budnick steering wheel, Nitto tires, and then Willwood brakes, and of course they built the brake lines, did the whole works throughout there. And then Be Cool radiator, cooling system in that regard. So we'll jump to the heart of the truck.
Yeah.
It's an LS3 495 with the hot cam, GM's performance cam in it. So yeah, the old truck, much different than it was, just a little straight 6 in there. And of course worked with Rick and them on those valve covers. They painted them to match, and everything is tucked in there, man. AC and hydro booster, and everything is very, very tight in there.
That's awesome. It's gorgeous.
But these guys, like they said, they build these things every day, and they know these vehicles. And so like the clearance of the steering shaft and the clearance of the pulley on the alternator, they know this stuff. They build this truck day in and day out. And the Tri-5s, and then they do ride tech suspension for Corvettes and Camaros and you name it. I mean, but these trucks and the Tri-5s, this is their thing. And
now, what made you choose LS? I like LS. I like old motors, the carbureted. I like fuel injection. I like LS. I'm doing a build with the LS too. So, but what made you go that route? Was it something more modern you thought about? Did you have an idea as a kid when you want to restore the truck, what you're thinking? Just out of curiosity. I asked that question.
Over all those years, it was going to be a 350 motor and an S10 frame and all those things. Well, you get later in life, and then you talk to the real experts that know what they're doing. And Rick said, you won't want anything else but an LS3. It's drop it in, tune it for them. But it pairs with a 6L80 transmission. And
you can go drive this truck across the country if you want to.
Ready to go. Crate motor, and so it's the drivability. I sharing with Rick, and they do, they've done, I don't know about hundreds, but almost hundreds of these trucks.
Their specialty.
And they know they build this vehicle every day, along with the Tri-5s, the Corvettes, the Camaros. They do this day in, day out. They know their stuff. So I told them, I want drivability. I want to be able to get in and go, and I'm going to run around town in it. I'm going to take clients to showings, and I'm going to go to car shows, and my wife and I are going to run the back roads of Montana. I want to drive it. But I want it to be a bit of a bully too.
I'm sure it can do a burnout here and there, right?
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
We know it can. Rick, I'll come back next year for some more back tires. But
exactly. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's got that LS 500 horse. They have a gentleman. Forgive me, I can't remember his name right now. He does all their tuning. And without it being on the dyno or anything like that, my understanding it's well north of 500 horse. That's what he told me. But they've got it tuned for some performance, but it's drivability, and it'll light up the tires easy. But I can get in and go, and go 80, 90 miles an hour down the road. I like the secondary roads at 65, 70, windows down, cruising. And
remembering your childhood. I mean, back to the story. So that's really cool. That's really cool. And then interior next.
And of course, a lot different than it would have been in the day. What was really important to me as a kid is, of course, sitting eye level with that dash in the middle seat. There was a ashtray there. If you know anything about the interiors of the 50 Chevys, there's an ashtray, and a little bit different configuration speaker there in place for stereo. But I worked with Rick and Ricky, and shout out to Ricky. I don't know how many hours he has in that dash, but I specifically wanted to see that Chevrolet signage in there, and that badging was really important to me as a kid, and just for me to drive down the road with that Chevrolet blazed across that dashboard. So he combined several dashes, of course, new product, and fabricated that with the screen in there, and he told me he'd never do it again. So that tells me there's a lot of fabricating. But yeah, he told me about it. I wanted the ashtray in there, and they're so good about what they've done in these builds that, you know, they politely are able to tell you, are you sure you want to have that? Or give you some ideas of why you would or wouldn't. And so they're just really good. But Ricky did that dash. And then, of course, you see the interior by Kevin, and really incredible. I will say Dylan from R&R Frames, he himself, I think he said that he had over 60 hours in the fabricating.
Oh, wow.
So floor pans, tunnel for the transmission, all the way inside of that. And then Ricky himself, he did the bed. That was a labor of love in the back there. We kept the original bed boards, the strips in there. But there's, I don't know if there's over 100 hours of fabricating in this truck, from bringing the dents out, making things smooth, not taking the character of the story out of it. They really were cognizant of what I wanted to do. And they kept reminding me, Tony, you're building this truck.
That's cool.
You're building this truck. So
that's important. They let you keep it to your vision, the roots you wanted for the end goals, and then they also gave you their advice and points too.
Yeah,
so
the modern twist to it all.
Yeah,
it's got a full-on 6-speaker with a big bass stereo in this small cab, and they did an excellent job on that. And then it's got a full digital screen with a backup camera, and then there's a USB port or a port for charging my phone. I mean, it had all the modern conveniences.
Working guy like you needs to be able to charge your phone, going to showings, everything like that. So that's cool.
Yeah, so that was really important to me. And a lot of their builds, majority of their builds, my understanding, have that in them, especially these trucks and the cars. But that's kind of their normal, is to have those amenities in there and make you comfortable. And so Rick has a 57 Apache, if I got that right. We kind of looked at his interior and the similar style of this. So Kevin Stiles, he is their interior guy. And excuse me.
Beautiful work. I mean, just
it's amazing. It really is. And so they take, which is a fun fact, is that this is a seat out of an '89 Chevy Silverado, and it has a fold-down armrest in the middle. And they tell me that this is the seat. This is the only seat that will fit in this cab. And so they are looking for '89 Chevy Silverado front seats a lot. So Kevin Stiles did this. My wife and I went down, I don't know how many times in 2 years, and custom designed the interior with their help and their advice. I was going to do something different on the headliner, an old American flag, and Rick was like, are you sure you want to do that? And they gave me great latitude and great options. We worked on the interior door panels. That was kind of my favorite part. I kept it back to kind of the old school panels of the 50 Chevys. And then we worked on, there's basket weave in here, and Rick kind of had
basket weaving is amazing. When you pointed that out to me, and looking at the detail on that, that truly is such a subtle touch, but just sets it off. I like it.
It does. And it was something that my wife really liked. And so we got that in the panel, got that in the seat, and in the bolsters, and then in the headliner. But Kevin Stiles did an amazing job on the interior, and again, worked hand in hand with them. Had great input from Rick and Ricky and his wife Casey. They've got their just a whole team there. Greg down there. There's quite a number of people that help them. So that's awesome. The build inside there, and goodness, he's a bully, you know. But it's nice. You know. And the doors shut nice.
I mean, it's not a farm truck anymore. This is a modern day hot rod that you could enjoy and make memories with, but also keep all those original memories. And that's what's cool about it. So, very cool, very cool. We're also going to, if you can tell me about the brand as well on the tailgate.
We'll do the walk around on it too. The Heart 3/4 Circle is our family brand out of Bozeman, and it's just the iconic thing for our ranch. And so I had Nicole put that back there, just paying homage to my family.
That's really cool.
Again, for me to drive this truck is something I've dreamed of all my life, and now it's 100 times better and different than I would have imagined. But it's truly amazing to do that and pay homage to all that means a lot to me. So
that's really cool. Well, any other stories or anything else you think that I mean, we've gone over it all. We could go on hours for all the stories.
Oh, you could. I think one thing that's important to me is, you know, as a little kid, growing up with these vehicles, my dad was a car salesman, and I was in and out of a lot of GM, Pontiac, Trans Ams to Impalas to all the old cars.
Yeah.
You know, he'd bring home used cars, and I really fell in love with vehicles.
Yeah.
Any and all of them. You know, so I have an appreciation for that. But what's really unique for me is when I'm at car shows, and again, this first year for it, I've gone to a lot of car shows, but this first year for this truck, and seeing the kids that come up. And I realize that any given moment, their little minds and their little hearts are capturing something, and you never know what they'll go on to do.
Yeah.
And I tell people, and I stood with this couple that was Farmer Ranch family from Columbus, and there was a young kid there that wanted a C10, you know, and his dream car, his dream truck. And I told him the story about this, and I had given up on this thing multiple times only because I didn't think I could ever get it back. And I'm fortunate enough in this life and in my business to be able to do this full build and have it. But I told that young man, I said, don't ever give up on what's important to you. And I know that sounds, you know, maybe trivial, or we hear it a lot, but this truck's living proof of that.
Exactly.
Don't ever give up on what's important to you, whether it's a truck like this or a car or a goal in life. And so I think there's a huge responsibility for me. I just take things, I'm a really nostalgic guy, but seeing kids and people come up, and I'm living it. And I'm humble about that. I'm not proud about that in a prideful way. I'm living something that I desired to have for years and years, and I gave up several times. I just think that it's really important. Enjoy your life and drive towards what's important.
And that young man, probably that day, you know, he heard that story, and later in life it'll hit with him. He'll probably remember that.
I hope so.
And whatnot. And I know I was that young kid as a kid, you know, little guy going to some car shows, racing, you know, all, motorsports in general, loud cars, and those types of guys and gals that I looked up to were hard workers, good people, you know, always had a story, you know, and being around that really helps you shape your life. So I bet, you know, guarantee you that will come back full circle to him someday. So that's really cool.
He'll probably try to pass me on the highway or do burnouts, you know. I'll probably see him again.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, Tony, thank you so much for your story, telling us about the build. Shout out to the guys down there that built this truck. It's gorgeous. We're gonna tag them. You should definitely give them a look. They build amazing vehicles. But yeah, no, thank you for your story, and I really appreciate it. So,
yeah, we're excited about it. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. So if you guys have, anyone viewing this video today, if you have a story, it doesn't matter, car, truck, modern, old, antiques. If you guys have a story like this where you have, you know, gotten a vehicle because your grandpa had one, or your dad, or you really want it for some certain reason, go ahead and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, DM us, tell us about the story, send us an email. Follow us on Cruiserz USA on Instagram, and we'd love to hear it. Maybe we can come to you and film and keep sharing these stories, because like I was telling Tony when I contacted him about doing this, is I watch a lot of these high-end pro touring builds nowadays, but on videos, clips, follow them on Instagram, Facebook, like we all do. But there's usually a story behind those. And I don't think that fully gets to be talked about until that customer receives the car and then they're taking it to the local car shows. And I think the builds are so cool and amazing, but I think the stories are just as much behind it. So contact us if you know anyone with stories or have one yourself, and we'd love to chat about it. So thank you guys. Thanks for viewing. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good stuff.